Hi, I'm Laura, and for Christmas my wonderful husband got me a Heart Magic essential oil distiller. So today is my very first attempt. I'm really excited about it, and we've went out in our yard and we've collected some juniper leaves and juniper berries. So we're going to make a juniper essential oil. In this video I've recorded basically the process of making the oil from the very beginning of getting your biomass all the way to the process of the oil coming out in the vial, so I really hope it helps. What I haven't shown is the actual assembly of the distiller itself. Whenever you get the distiller from heartmagic.com, it comes with a pamphlet that has step-by-step instructions on how to set up the distiller itself. Some people that may be easier, other people, you may need a video version of actually assembling it, and if you're interested I can video that. Just message me and let me know. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and here we go. This is the first time I've ever made essential oil, so all you experts out there will see I probably do a lot of things wrong, and if you see that and notice it, please let me know because I'd like to improve my technique. But I've started out with juniper leaves and berries. You want it, in kind of small pieces, not so small that it falls through the netting at the bottom of the flask, but pretty small. One thing with the juniper is you've got to be pretty careful because they have kind of little prickers on them. I've gotten several stuck in my hands during this process. It's so late in the season, I don't have a lot of the juniper berries. The ones, you can see what they look like. I wanted to do a whole batch of just the berries, but my trees really didn't have that many, so I'm just going to mix them together. So I've got that, and then you'll need enough water to fill this flask, the bottom flask, about halfway up. So about that much water. So the water that I'm using is reverse osmosis filtered. You want to use filtered water or distilled water whenever you're making the essential oil. The next thing is I just have regular Kerr or mason jar. Really you just need some container to collect the hydrosol. The hydrosol comes out right here, and if you can see, the hydrosol is dripping right here into the mason jar. So you want something that will fit, without any problem up and under that to catch your hydrosol. And then the final thing you'll need is a bottle for your essential oil. The ones that I get empty, I just save them, rinse them out, wash them out, and then you can reuse it. This actually fits here. This is where the oil will come out, and it fits comfortably up under there to catch the oil. And that's all you'll need to get started. Okay, so this is where you put the water to be boiled. This, you can remove this little stopper, and I find it's easier to put water in there if you use a little funnel. So we'll do that. This is the flask that holds the biomass, or the juniper. So in order to get the juniper down in here, I'm actually going to need to take this tube off. This kind of holds the tube together. You just clip that off. Okay, so I've got this 2-liter jar flask filled with the biomass, and it's mostly full. So I'm just going to put this back on it, line it up with that tube. It's good, and then put the red clamp back on to hold it together. Okay, something I forgot to do before I put this top thing on is this is the receiver, and you need to preload this receiver with distilled water prior to starting distillation. If you don't preload it with distilled water prior to distillation, what will happen is that some of the essential oil that you would be collecting will get lost into the hydrosol. It's literally, well, it's almost impossible to get it back after it's in there. So you don't want to lose any of that essential oil. It's so hard to get anyway, and there's such a small amount produced. So what we're going to do is take this top part back off. And then I'm going to pour enough distilled water in here. Well, I actually have reverse osmosis filtered water in here just so that it starts to run out the side spout. Okay, so this is what it should look like right before you get started. These hoses, you'll see how there's one coming from the top and one coming from the bottom. This hose is running through a sink of ice water. This bowl is just to hold the tube down in the water because it wants to float up. So we've got the tube running through ice water and then connected to the water spigot. You can use tap water for this because the water doesn't mix at all with your hydrosol or your essential oil. It's just used as a coolant. I've hooked mine to my reverse osmosis water only because it's a smaller spigot and easier to hook to. Either one is okay. Now you'll see this tube comes out the bottom, and then I have this one draining in the other sink. This is where the warm water is going to come out. So what actually happens during this process is when the steam comes up through here, it basically cooks the biomatter, and then the steam continues to rise coming down through here. When the cold water comes into this double-walled tube, the steam will then go back to liquid in this tube because of the cooling of the water. That would be the condensation process. And then whenever the water cools, the hydrosol coming through the bottom of the tube, the warm water that's in the bottom will come out this tube and then drain. So we constantly have cold water. Now you can use just tap water to cool it. That's okay as long as you have a pretty cool tap water. But the colder it is, you know, the better the process is going to be. So okay, we're ready to start. Okay, so to get started, we just turn on the condenser water. It doesn't have to be a lot, that's actually too much. It just needs to kind of be a trickle. That's good, so you can see how the cold water is coming in the top here. Where this is double walled, it's coming down the outside and then it's draining out here into the other sink. Okay, so to get started, we just turn the hot plate on to full high and get a rolling boil. Now we just sit and wait. Now we're about 30 minutes into the distillation process, and for all you geeks out there like my husband and myself who want to know the actual process of what's going on here, I'm just going to go ahead and explain it. So what we have here is we have boiling water. Now you'll notice that it started out clear and it's starting to get, it's yellow now. Later on through the process it'll get darker, it may even turn brown. And what that is just biomatter deposits that strip down. There is no oil in this. the oil, every bit of oil that comes out of the biomatter will end up in the vial. So there's nothing, or in the hydrosol, there's no oil in here. And it's okay that that's happening. So what happens is the steam from the water comes up and it cooks the plant. Alright, the water inside the plant mixed with the water vapors here vaporizes. It goes up through this tube, the water vapor, and then it starts its process down the condensation tube. Okay, now what's coming out is it's a hydrosol, meaning it's the plant water mixed with the distilled water mixed with the oil of the plant. Now as it starts to condense and turn back into a liquid down this cooling tube, all of it will eventually collect down here in the collection tube. Okay, so now we have zoomed down into the collection tube. So you'll see from here to here, that's the hydrosol. So that is what is extracted out of the plant. I don't know if you can notice there really well because we're not too far into the process, but the very top layer here is the essential oil. The essential oil is lighter than the water, so it's going to float to the top. And there's a small, I don't know, a couple millimeter layer of the essential oil right there. Now if you'll notice, this part right here, that's the hydrosol, looks a little cloudy. A hydrosol is the water of the plant mixed with the oil. So there will be a very small amount, a trace amount of essential oil into the hydrosol. And if you can see, the hydrosol is dripping right here into the mason jar. Now if we had smell-o-vision, you would be able to smell that this smells amazing. Our kitchen is just filled with the aroma of juniper. Now I'm about 40 minutes into the process, and I expect this to go an hour to 2 hours. So I thought my water was maybe getting a little low for that process. So I just opened up this spout here, added maybe 2 cups of distilled water or reverse osmosis filtered water into here, and it should start boiling again. The process should continue. Okay, so we're an hour into the process now. You can see right here is the essential oil. Here's the hydrosol. I've got about 4 millimeters of essential oil at the top. Now just for the record, in most biomass that you distill, you're going to get the main amount of the oil from the plant in the first 20 to 30 minutes. But it does take, up to 3 hours to get the rest of the oil out of the plant. It just depends on the plant itself. When you look at the plant that's in the vial or in the flask, when it starts to look really dull, it's lost kind of the life out of it and it's wilted pretty good, then and then another indicator would be that the hydrosol water starts to just kind of smell like distilled water or lose all of its fragrance. That's another way to know that the oil is out of the plant. It's something they say is very hard to learn how to detect, and obviously I haven't learned that yet. But anyway, that's a way to determine. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the process now. I've already turned the hot plate off, but it's still boiling some, so I've got the water cooling it just to catch that that last little bit of oil or hydrosol that I may get. And since I didn't really know exactly when to stop it, I did tell you that the hydrosol would stop being as potent. It wouldn't smell as strongly whenever it was toward the end of the process. So what I did after I did my last little talk, I guess that was at an hour, I took the hydrosol that I had collected from the beginning off and then put a new jar under it, which I'm really glad that I did that, because if you'll notice, this hydrosol is quite a bit more cloudy than the one from the last hour. So that tells me that we've got pretty much all or at least most of the oil out of the biomass. You can see the difference in the color of the hydrosol there. So right now I'm just kind of waiting for the water to stop boiling, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, now that I have that held securely, I'm gonna let it set for about an hour. That allows any extra oil that would be in this hydrosol to kind of dissipate to the top. And then once it's set for 1 hour, we'll drain out the excess hydrosol until the oil itself is just barely resting on the bottom. When that happens, I'll close it, get my essential oil bottle, and then fill it. Okay, final step of the process. This has been setting for about an hour. So I'm going to turn this little nozzle and drain out the hydrosol very slowly. Okay, so I've got it to where the oil is exactly on top of the nozzle, but my concern is the hydrosol that's from here to here. So I think I'm going to drain it a little bit further. Yeah, actually you can see the oil right there. Okay, so that is every drop of the water. Okay, so now this is my essential oil vial. Okay, so at the end of the process, you saw we started with about 2-quart flask full of the biomatter, and when the process was over, this whole jar is 1/4 of an ounce. So it yielded just under 1/8 of an ounce of essential oil. And then we have close to a quart jar full of hydrosol. After you extract the oil, you may notice that it has a semi-burnt smell, maybe mixed in with the smell of the oil, and that's natural. That's part of the process of the glass-steam distillation. What it is some of the plant material that has been extracted along with the essential oil. So it's phenols and some other things. If you leave the oil set out for a day up to a week, it depends on the oil, that smell will evaporate out. So basically just smell it every day, and whenever it smells exactly like you would like for it to smell, just cap it and you're good. So I hope this video helped you, and if it did, like it and give me some comments because I'm always looking for help.